Nice to meet everyone. So my name is Thomas. I'm a developer relation engineer at Google, working specifically on AI, and I'm with Miguel.
Hey, I'm Miguel Ramos. I'm a product manager working in Firebase at Google.
I cannot hear you.
People can hear.
Yeah,
Sounds now. Cool. I'm Miguel Ramos. I'm a product manager at Firebase working in Google, taking care about AI experiences as well. And today we are going to talk about several things. So we are going to talk about how to add generative AI on mobile, how to add generative AI on cloud. We are going to talk about one versus another. We are going to talk about the different options. The idea is just to give you some sense about what makes sense to do in which scenario. So let's start with an overview about what we can find out there. So first of all is why we want to use generative AI, why is this helpful? So you need to think about that generative AI is very good in tasks that already a human can do right now. So for instance, a human is very good about summarizing things. So generative AI is good as well in these tasks. Or you can think about you can rewrite a text in a different tone, or find specific information in a large data set, or analyze pattern. So all these tasks that's easy to use for not easy, it's able to use for a human can be done easily for generative AI. And this is some sample about scenarios that you can find today. For instance, you can see the task of summarizing in voice recorder, or how we can generate smart replies in Gboard. Also, how we can make image descriptions in Talkback. Another scenario could be, for instance, is AI weather summary that you can find right now on the devices, or scan detection. It's working pretty well. Why not just to summarize the call and take a note for yourself? This is just some samples of the scenarios where you can use generative AI right now, and much more. So the question that everybody have is, when should I ask on device or in cloud? And after every question depends. There is a trade-off of that. For instance, on device is pretty good when the network is not very good. Like in this case, here the network is not working as expected. So it's a very good case scenario for use on device. And also you can process the information offline. Another thing is when you are running the model and inference on device, the data is always there. It never go out from this device. Another thing is you don't pay for the inference, but you are using less capable devices, much less capable devices. When you should use on the cloud, well, cloud is about powerful, right? It's going to be available in any device that have internet connection. So basically, you are targeting the entire ecosystem of users. It's going to support more modality than the on device. Also allow you to have very huge, large context windows. We are talking about 1 million tokens or 2 million tokens, depending on Flash or Pro. So this is a lot of information that you can send at once to the model. I would like to simplify the story. In Google, we have so many products and we have too many options, and sometimes it's hard to make a decision. So this is the way that we think about for Android developer should use on-device and cloud inference. For on-cloud, our recommendation is go first with Firebase AI Logic. There is always an SDK in Kotlin that is going to make your life easier. There is many options, but this isn't for us the recommendation way to go. For on-device, there is the NLKit GenAI API. Easy to use. It's a very straightforward API as well. This is the way that we recommend just to use when you want to implement generative AI on local.
Yeah, so we were just talking about ML-Kit and generative AI on device. So let's dive in that a little bit. So you probably, if you've been following the launch of Gemini Nano, you probably heard about AI Core, which is kind of like the infrastructure piece that runs on Android. that enables you to fetch the model, or at least that fetches the model for you, fetch potentially the adapters that adds specific capacities to the model, and also provide some safety features to make sure that the input that the model receives is safe and the output is also safe for your users. So that infrastructure is actually completely managed by the operating system. So you don't really have to worry about that part, and it's going to leverage the hardware that is available on the device. What you are interested in as an Android developer is the MLKit GenAI API, as Miguel was saying. So that's basically the SDK that you will add to your Android application to be able to leverage Gemini Nano. So what can you do specifically with MLKit GenAI? So at the moment, we have 4 APIs. So there is one that enables summarization. So it's pretty straightforward. You can summarize article or chat conversations as bulleted lists. There is proofreading. So, you type something, you went a little quick, you have a few typos here and there. You can use Gemini Nano and the MLKit GenAI APIs to proofread the content. Rewriting, so you write something and you want it to sound more formal because you're sending this message to your boss, and you don't want typo, but you also don't want to be too casual. You can use the rewriting tool for that. And finally, Gemini Nano is multimodal, so you can also pass an image. Today is just text and image. That might change in the future as we add more modalities. But today you can pass some text and an image, and so you can use the MLKit GenAI APIs to generate a description, a short description of the image. So that's 4 APIs, and you can see that it's very specific use cases. Eventually, we want to have something that gives you more flexibility and potentially lets you prompt directly the model. So stay tuned. But at the moment, that's the four APIs that are available today, and you can really get started very quickly. And actually, since I said that you can start very quickly, so on the screen right here, that's basically all you need to summarize an article. So you can see initially you have these summarization options that you need to define. So you are going to say, okay, is it an article or is it a conversation that I want to summarize? How many bullets do I want? Do I just want, like a 1-paragraph summary, or do I want multiple sentences and multiple bullet points? So that's your configuration there. Oops. And then you will create a summarizer right here. You need to make sure that the summarizer actually has the feature available. So that's something that you do to make sure that the feature is actually downloaded on the device. You don't have to do it yourself, but you need to make sure that as you're about to test it, it's actually present. Once it's there, you're good to go. And then you basically pass your article. You send a summarization request, and you get a summarization result in return. And this summarization result has a summary there. So you can see that there are a few steps, but overall it's relatively straightforward, and that gives you some level of customization. And actually, if you want to see it in action, we published this AI sample catalog application, so you can try it today if you want on your device, as long as your device supports summarization. I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, if you want to download the app, you can get the GitHub repo scanning this code. And you can see it in action. We have basically this one sample that lets you summarize some kind of like text that we let you add. And yeah, so if you want to learn more in general about those 4 APIs, you can go to the MLKit documentation and you can try them for yourselves. It's, again, relatively straightforward to get started. But the one thing worth mentioning is that at the moment, we only support 22 devices. And the reason for that is that Gemini Nano needs to be specifically optimized to be able to run on those devices. We are starting. Obviously, this number is only going to increase, but we have to start somewhere. And so you have the list of all the devices here. I try to leave this slide as long as possible so everybody can find the device that they have on the screen. And if your device is not supported yet, stay tuned, and hopefully as we are adding more devices, it's going to cover more users and more devices. And with that, Miguel, let's talk about Firebase AI Logic.
Yep, thank you, Thomas. Let's talk a little about on-cloud solutions. Thank you. So when we are talking about on-cloud solutions, the first thing that we need to think about is how I can access to the Gemini to the Gemini API. In Google, we have two Gemini providers. One is the developer API, another one is Vertex AI. The developer API is the API perfect for starting because of no cost, and the Vertex AI is the more enterprise. But first of all, is we have two developer API. The way to access to these developer APIs is using a REST API. So basically, today, the thing that you can do is just go into your backend, connecting to use these REST APIs, writing there the code. In your backend, you need to use Go, Python, Node.js, all this language. Once that you get the right output, go into a service layer, and the service layer is the one that is already shared with the client. This is the classic architecture that you need to build. However, to simplify all this developer experience, we create something called Firebase AI Logic. The idea is, hey, forgot about touching your backend. We are going to take care about the backend. We are going to put backend for you out there, so which is going to connect securely to the Gemini API. The only thing that you need to do is about using an SDK, a Kotlin SDK, to connect directly to the Gemini API. So you don't have to worry about anything else. And you can prompting, and with the prompting you can build whatever you want. You have free prompting for summarize, you have free prompting for translation, you have free prompting for returning JSON objects, blah, 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 blah. So this is how we build this Kotlin API. This is a Firebase product, and one of the things that we like to do in Firebase is simplifying the things radically. So basically, with 3 lines of code, you are able to get the model, create response, and get the results. 3 lines of code, no more than that. This is really, really, really real code that you can put out there in production. All right, when we're talking about providers, that's your first option, your first decision. And your decision is about developer API or the Vertex AI. So this is the trade-off. First of all, the developer API is the one that you're using in Google AI Studio, the one that you play with, and has a free tier. You can start with no cost. You can play with that, you can create your apps, you can put your apps in testing environment, you can even put your own in production, and when you need to scale, you can put your credit card and pay for this pay as you go. So yeah, it's a very end-to-end way to go. If you require something more enterprise, you can use Vertex AI. Vertex AI allows you to have a scale, and also you can choose the location where your server is going to be hosting the Gemini API. It's very integrated with other Vertex products and with the Firebase Cloud Storage. This is basically the trade-off you have to make. With other things that you need to keep in mind is, depending on the Gemini model you are using, have several capabilities. So right now, the capability of the Gemini model, whether it's Flash or it's Pro, are huge. You can set as an input, for instance, the text, but also you can send code, image, audio, even video. So you send all this information to the model, and it's going to process and return some information. Right now, you can return text, or you can tell to the model, hey, give me a JSON object, because it's going to be easy for me just to parse into objects, or you can create an image for me, or you can even generate audio. This is all the kind of capability that you can do with the model on the cloud. There is one specifically that I really like the most, and this is a new feature that we are adding to the Gemini API set, is the live APIs. Basically allow you to create a streaming of communication, bidirectional communication between the client and the model. So you can send audio to the model, and the model can send you audio, and you can generate this kind of conversational AI. You can also send video and returning audio. This is the live API. Let me show you a demo. I don't know if it's going to work because there is a lot of noise over there, but let's try. Let's try. I'm going to connect to my mobile device. I'm going to try to run this AI sample. All right, this app is using the Live API. Basically, it's a to-do app that in the moment I click the button, I'm going to open the connection to the model. It's going to be opening for a while, so I can start to talking to the model, and the model is going to be able to respond. Hey there, what is in the list? I can hear nothing because all the noise. Can you make it work this mic with this mic? Hey there, what is in the list? All right. Let's do some things. It's telling me, it's speaking, you can hear that. But after the session, you can stop by, we can make it run over there. Hey, can you add tags to buy the food on my dog? I can hear nothing, I'm so sorry. Let me try something a little different. Let me try running a different app because it's visually easy to understand. I'm clicking this button and initializing. Hey, can you change the background color to blue? Doesn't work. It's okay. Can you change the background color to yellow? Okay, we should cancel the demo. We tried. So later when we finalize, I promise you it's working. Stop by here. Let's play with the app. I'll give you my phone so you can play with that. So basically the thing is, we are talking to the model is responding, and you are doing actions. When you have there is a lot of things like mic or noise, it's becoming super hard to the AI just to set up this kind of interactions. Oops. That's the demo. So how complicated is to create this build, to build this kind of experiences? Not too much. It's about 4 lines of code you can build that. The first one is about getting the model and using a specific model called the Gemini 2.0 Flash Live Preview 4.9. Once I get the model, and I need to specify the actions, the tools that I want to execute. I want the model to execute. One is the tool, and in this case the tool is adding things to the leads or changing the background color. Once I get the model, it's about open the connection. So I have a method for connect. I have another method for stop the conversation, and I have another method for start the conversation. And that's it. With these 4 lines of code, you are going to be able just to create and build these experiences that in theory work. So if you want more information, samples, how Firebase AI work, you should go there. Let's go to imaging.
Thank you, Miguel. So let's talk about Imagen. So in addition of Gemini Pro and Gemini Flash, you can also access Imagen, which is Google's image generation model, directly through the Firebase AI Logic SDK. And you can actually see all those images right here. They were generated by Imagen. Actually, they were generated by Imagen 3. Imagen 4 was released a few weeks ago, so I should probably update this slide with image generated with the model. But what is really interesting with this model is that you can see that it can be used for very different style. You can, on one end have some hyper-realistic picture with the little squirrel in the snow, all the way to kind of like cool illustration like the waterfall. I think the Cappadocia hot air balloon too is also pretty good. So that gives you an idea of like the wide range of style that can be generated with Imagen. The question though is, what can you actually do with it as an Android developer? Well, that's a few ideas. At the end of the day, I mean, you know your application better than me, so you're probably going to be able to come up with ideas yourself. But you can use it for user profile generation, for instance. We all have, a way to kind of like put placeholders in the images, and suddenly you can, let the users create their own avatar. You can, add some contextual artwork. I don't know, your food delivery app, there is no picture for what the person just ordered. You can generate an image. Your travel application, you can, generate an illustration. And for, I don't know, live streaming or photo apps, you can also generate custom stickers, which is also something pretty cool. Like literally, right away, you can generate something that is super customized for the user at the very moment. So that's just ideas. If you have other ideas, I'm curious to hear about it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool new capability that is just available for Android developers. What is cool is that in a few weeks, so it's kind of like something that we pre-announce here. In a few weeks, you'll be able to go a little bit further than just putting some text and generating an image on the other end. There is this capability called in-painting that enables you to replace or edit a specific area of an image. So for instance, you define a mask, so we take the same scroll image and we are going to like draw an area on the screen and say, okay, I want only this area to be modified. So that's in painting. You can also do out painting. So out painting is the other way around. That's when you define a mask, but you say, I want to change everything but what is inside the mask. But here in painting, I'm defining a mask and then I will say, okay, add a pine cone to this image. And as I'm sending that to the model, what I will get in return is basically the same image. And if you look in detail, like nothing will really change. And on top of that, it's gonna basically add a pine cone right where I define the mask. So that's one capability that will be available soon. And just to show you how it works, and this API might maybe slightly change in the future, but it's not going to be that different from what I'm showing here. You start by defining the configuration. So you pass an image and you pass a mask. So you basically have a bitmap object that you convert into an image and you define the edit mode that you want to use. So here it's in paint insertion. But as I said, you can also do out painting. Then you specify the model that you want to use. And you can see here I'm also defining the backend, as Miguel was saying. So there are several API providers. Here we are using Vertex AI. And finally, you basically call edit image, passing the prompt and the configuration that you defined before. And that will return you an image that was generated by the model. So in painting is one of them, but we are working on more features that will be added to the SDK really soon. So you will be able to insert and remove content of the image. You will also be able to do some customization, like changing the style of a picture. And finally, you will be able to customize some subjects or some people as part of an image. So you can, I don't know, send an image of your pet, for instance, and then say, okay, show the image of this pet, but I don't know, walking and strolling in the forest, for instance, or something like that. So that's the kind of feature that will be added soon to the SDK. And if you want to know more, you can go to the Android documentation and the image dev guide that kind of like walks you through all of that. And there is also, speaking about the Android AI catalog that I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of those samples, and we will keep adding some of those samples to this app. So if you're interested in playing with it, I recommend to go on the GitHub repository and try to build it for yourself and start playing with it. Yeah, and that's it. So we have a survey here. Happy to talk to all of you at the end. I think, I don't know, I'll be staying on the side, so feel free to come chat with us. But if you want to get in touch, that's a Google form here, so you can share more about what you're building and put your contacts, and we'll get in touch. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have 5 minutes for questions. Is that right? Yes? Yes, I don't know if you have any questions you want to ask. for everybody to hear. I think there is a microphone over here. Feel free to walk there. Hopefully we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You mentioned using the GenAI models with just 3 lines of code. That's really cool. For someone looking to do something more, like for using an image to get a description, do you offer customization on, okay, I want the image to be this resolution or something like that?
No.
I can repeat. Yeah. So yeah, you're asking for. I think what you described is increasing the resolution specifically of an image, so upscaling. So it's actually something that eventually we are thinking about supporting in the ImageN SDK. So you'll be able to like pass your image to the model and say, basically upscale it. So I don't know exactly the parameter that you'll be able to do and how big you can make it, but you'll be able to use that. And one thing was mentioning too, if you want to get some text, output it as part of the image, like asking for, I don't know, a description of the image or something like that. That's something that already works, and it's already like a few lines of code to get started with that today. So you can pass some text and some image to Gemini Flash or Gemini Pro and ask basically a description of the scene, or ask specific question like how many characters are in the scene, or how many people are in the scene, or how many people wearing a hat are in the scene. You can basically make things pretty complex and ask that to the model, and it works pretty well.
Does that apply for your live API as well?
It's apply for what?
Does it apply for live? So at the moment, live doesn't support yet image, but stay tuned for that. That's something that we are looking into. So yeah, eventually you'll be able to do it.
Something I did a proof of concept. I did a proof of concept which is about talking to the live API and have a tool, a function calling, and this function calling actually calling imaging model and asking to do things. So for instance, you can talk to the model and say, hey, can you generate an image of blah, 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 and it generates that. But it's a mix between the live APIs doing things, hook up with the function calling, and the function call is calling the imaging model to generate the image. Or you can also use Gemini to generate image as well. Although for high quality, I prefer to use the imaging model.
Thank you.
Thought that was easier. So I was just wondering, if you're using ML Kit, like how big of a concern is things like battery usage, memory usage, processor usage? Like if I was to make a text-based game, would that, if a user is playing that for half an hour, like does it actually become a concern for their, like compared to any other gaming app? I'm just wondering, like what have you seen so far?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, it's a good question. I think the short answer is that, yeah, running an LLM on a device and running inference regularly, like several times a minute, that's definitely over time going to have an impact on your battery. So I think if you want to run a text-based game, but you basically have to run inference of the model like 10 times a minute as the user is playing, that will have an impact. I don't think I have metrics to give you. One thing worth mentioning is that we are also working super hard to optimize it. So it's probably always going to be better than if you bring your own model and kind of use your own model for it. But I don't know if I would be. I think you should try it actually and test it for yourself. And I'd be curious to hear your experience. I don't know if it's completely ready for us to recommend that say, oh yeah, you can make several requests per minute for several hours in a row and not expect any impact on the battery. I'd be lying. So I would say try it yourself and see how it goes. That's my suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? No more questions? Well, thank you everybody. And yeah, feel free to come talk to us or use the form if you want to get in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you.